Hello everyone and welcome to our channel NetLogic. I hope you all had a wonderful Diwali and also all of you, I hope that all of you are keeping safe. So today's topic is electronic evidence. I think it's time to learn something new. So let's start with it. I've seen over all the years of my practice that there is a lot of confusion revolving electronic evidence. So today we are going to try to simplify what electronic evidence is, what electronic record means, and how to submit this electronic evidence before a respective court, or what would be the admissibility of electronic evidence. So let's start. So to give you a little bit of legal background, it all started with Information Technology Act. As you all know that IT Act came into existence in the year 2000, and as an effect, all these following acts were amended: IPC, Indian Evidence Act, Bankers Books of Evidence Act, and RBI Act, to name a few. So these acts were amended with electronic evidence related provisions. Let's get into basics first. Let's understand the basics first. That there are several definitions under the law. So today we are going to understand what a document means, what is the legal recognition of electronic record, what electronic record means, and subsequently what are the conditions under which it can be admissible before a court of law. So we are going to talk about Section 3, Section 65A, Section 65B of Indian Evidence Act, and Section 4 of Information Technology Act. So let's start with what is an electronic record. An electronic record is information recorded by a computer that is produced or received in the initiation, conduct, or completion of an agency or individual activity. To simplify this, we need to understand what do you mean by a computer, first of all. And obviously I'm not going to go into a complex legal definition of a computer. Obviously it is given under Information Technology Act, but for you to understand what computer means, let's simplify the definition. Any electronic device which takes input from you, which processes that input by logical, magnetic, or arithmetic means and gives you an output. We can obviously define that device as a computer. So what does electronic record means now? Whatever you store in that computer can be termed as electronic device. To give you an example, your emails, your Word files, your pictures, your video files, anything you create using the computer can be termed as electronic record. Now let's get into Section 4 of the IT Act, which talks about legal recognition of electronic records. Now, what does that mean? That where any law provides that information or any other matter shall be in writing or in typewritten or printed form, then notwithstanding anything contained in such law, such requirement shall be deemed to have been satisfied if such information or matter is A, rendered or made available in an electronic form and accessible so as to be usable for a subsequent reference. Now, what does that mean? That we obviously have Indian Evidence Act, which talks about document or documentary evidence. Now, previously or in earlier stages of the law or the court cases, what we used to submit is a hard copy of a document. Now, what does Section 4 says? That if today, if we submit anything in electronic form, that would be admissible before a court of law. Now, if you see that our laws are very old, and are based on British system. But as per these laws, even if those laws say that you have to submit a document, a hard copy document before a court of law, section 4 says otherwise, that even if we submit an electronic document or something in electronic form before a court, in a CD, in a DVD, in a pen drive, or a memory card, or in a hard disk, just because it's in the electronic form doesn't mean it is inadmissible. It has legal recognition now under section 4 of Information Technology Act, and it would be admissible if section 65b, or if conditions laid down under section 65b4, which section 65b are fulfilled. So obviously we are going to look at section 65b as well, but to give you a simple background, anything which you submit in electronic form before a court may be or can be admissible if the conditions are fulfilled. Now let's look at section 3 of Indian Evidence Act. All documents, including electronic records, produced for the inspection of the court, such documents are called documentary evidence. So, as I said, that once Information Technology Act came into existence, all of these other acts were also amended. Now, electronic document also fall under the definition of a document as per Indian Evidence Act. Now, there are special provisions regarding electronic evidence or pertaining to electronic evidence, specifically section 65A and section 65B. Now, other than this, we would also be talking about section 45A and section 79A of section 45A of Indian Evidence Act and section 79A of Information Technology Act. I would give you the context of these sections, but let's understand section 65A and 65B first. Now, section 65A says the contents of electronic records may be proved in accordance with the provisions of section 65B. So it is very straightforward that if we are submitting any electronic record before any court or electronic evidence before any court, then section 65 conditions laid down under section 65B need to be fulfilled. So what are these conditions? Let's start with the basics again. Section 65B talks about, notwithstanding anything contained in this act, any information contained in an electronic record which is printed on a paper. What does that mean? If you have your email and if you print it on a paper and submit it before a court, it is an electronic record. Stored, recorded, or copied in optical or magnetic media produced by a computer. What does that mean? That if you store, record, or copy anything in your hard disk or in your CD, DVD, that may also be submitted before a court, and it can be termed as electronic record. Shall be deemed to be also a document. We saw the definition under section 3 that electronic records are termed as documents under section 3. If the conditions mentioned in this section are satisfied in relation to the information and a computer in question, and shall be admissible in any proceedings without further proof or production of the original as evidence of any contents of the original or of any fact stated therein, of which direct evidence would be admissible. Now let's look at the conditions which are laid down under section 65B2. The computer from which the record is generated was regularly used to store or process information in respect of activity regularly carried on by a person having lawful control over the period and relates to the period over which the computer was regularly used. So let's take an example of this phone. If I want to produce something, some file which is stored in this phone before a court of law, what does the first condition means? that the record which is generated, let's take an example of a text message. So I send and receive text messages via this phone. Now that information is regularly, or that this device is regularly used to receive messages and to send messages, right? So the first condition is getting fulfilled, that if I am submitting a particular text message before any code from this phone, then I am using this device regularly to receive and store messages. The first condition is getting fulfilled, and I have lawful control. I am the owner or user of this particular device. So the first condition is getting fulfilled. The second condition is information was fed in computer in ordinary course of the activities of the person having lawful control over the computer. So the information vis-a-vis the text message was regularly fed into this computer in the ordinary course of activities. Third condition, the computer was operating properly, and if not, was not such as to affect the electronic record or its accuracy. So what does that mean? That obviously I was using this particular device to send and receive messages during the ordinary course of business, and if I'm submitting some text message from this phone was operating properly during that particular time. For example, if I am submitting a message received from someone, uh, let's say on 10th of October, then on 10th of October this device was operating properly. And if not, let's take an example again, that this phone was not operating properly from 11th of October, but on 10th of October it was operating properly. So that is not going to affect the accuracy, or it, it 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 is not going to affect the electronic record as far as that text message is concerned. So I am able to submit, or I am obviously open to submit this specific text message before a code. Even if I submit this phone for a forensic analysis, it is going to say that on 10th of October this phone was operating properly. 11th there was some problem, there may be some problem with the phone, but on 10th it was operating properly. Even on 10th, even if this phone wasn't operating properly, it did not affect the functionality as far as receiving or sending messages is concerned. So that is not going to affect the uh, accuracy of the text message. So for a simple forensic analysis would prove that, or it's a third condition, as we saw, that I have to lay down all these conditions in an affidavit when I give certificate before any code. So we're going to talk about that certificate also, but the third condition specifically states that the device was operating properly. Now the fourth condition is information reproduced is such as is fed into computer in the ordinary course of activities. Whatever was received on 10th of October in the form of text message, it is the same text message that I have submitted either in the printout form, or I have taken a screenshot and I have copied it on a CD or a DVD or a USB drive and submitted before a code. So this is the fourth condition. Now, section 65B 3 talks about computer network in general. So this is also considered while this is also considered by the legislators while framing the law, that nowadays we have cloud computing, we have large computer networks wherein all these computers are connected with each other. So uh, for example, if I want to produce bank statements, and the branch where I have my account in is in a different state, or is in a different city. So if I am situated here in Pune, and I go to a branch and I take out the bank statements from the concerned manager of that bank, that is that would be still admissible before the court of law, uh, considering that that computer of that specific branch in Pune is connected to a CBS, a core banking system, and the server might be situated anywhere else in the country, but all these computers are connected to the server. So for for submitting that evidence, the law states that all these computers which are connected to that server are considered as a single computer, and I can obtain that particular bank statements either from Pune, a branch situated in Pune, or somewhere else from some other branch. That won't affect the authenticity or accuracy of the electronic record, because the law considers all these computers which are connected in a computer network to be a single computer. Okay, I forgot to mention a few things. uh, Section 65b3 also talks about changing, or also takes into consideration change in technology or change in infrastructure. For example, if you upgrade your computers, or there is uh, upgrade in the firmware, or you update your operating system. So all these things are also considered under Section 65b3. And uh, to give you a gist of it, that all of these things, all of these computers which are connected over the network, even if there is a change in technology, even if you change a particular computer or there is upgradation, all these computers are constituted as a single computer for the purpose of Section 65b, and for the purpose of gathering that evidence from one of those computers and submitting before a court. Now let's talk about Section 65b4. Regarding the person who can issue the certificate and contents of certificate, it provides the certificate doing any of the following things: identifying the electronic record containing the statement and describing the manner in which it was produced. So I'm going to show you a pro forma of Section 65b certificate, Section 65b4 certificate, wherein it's a very simple pro forma stating all the particulars which are specifically mentioned under Section 65b, and all the conditions which are also mentioned there. And you can easily create this certificate and submit it along with your electronic evidence. So giving the particulars of the device, the first is identifying the electronic record. Second is giving the particulars of the device. Third, dealing with any of the matters to which the conditions mentioned in subsection 2 relate, and purporting to be signed by a person occupying a reasonable official position in relation to the operation of the relevant device or the management of the relevant activities, whichever is appropriate. Now, uh, I have seen in many cases the law enforcement agencies also, they are very confused. They are taking help of some random uh, forensic expert and for Section 65b certificate. I'm going to tell you why this is completely not going to help in your case. It might also tamper with evidence in some manner, and this is actually not appropriate as per law. Now, Section 65b is very clear on who can give this certificate. A person, like I told you, if this phone belongs to me, if I am the owner of this device, I have the authority, or I am the legal user of this device, I have the authority to use this particular device. Then either of the two, uh, either the owner or the user, can submit the Section 65b certificate before the court. As I said, who can give the certificate? Director in a company, a network administrator of the company. Let's take an example of account statement, bank account statement. Either the bank manager or person who is uh, looking after the statements or looking after that particular department can give section 65b certificate. If I obtained the bank account statement from a particular branch, that branch manager is in a position to provide that certificate, or the person who is handling that particular department in that branch can give that certificate to me, or can give that certificate in the court. A system administrator of a company. Now let's take an example of an ISP who is providing IP addresses to law enforcement agencies. Now there's either their CTO or IT manager or uh, a person who is handling that particular department in that ISP's office, internet service provider's office, will be in a position to give section 65b certificate. Now, this is a simple pro forma of a section 65b certificate, or how it should be. You should mention your name, your office address. Now, in this particular case, if the person is submitting CCTV footage to a cybercrime police station, then if that particular person is submitting a CD containing a footage, that uh, along with that CCTV footage, this certificate is mandatory. It should also mention the device, the particulars of the device, the computer device, the details of the CD, and it should also mention the conditions that the computer containing the information was used regularly to record videos and to store videos, and the computer was operating properly. If the video recording is from 10th of October, the computer was operating properly on the 10th of October, uh, wherein which the DVR was able to record a particular footage. So you need to mention all these conditions along or in that in this section 65b certificate. Let's talk about a three-prong test, which is important as far as admissibility of electronic evidence is concerned. The very first thing should be that document in question should be or must be an electronic record. We saw the definition of electronic record. Whatever you receive from your computer as an output can be termed as electronic record. That document has to be electronic record to be admissible under section 65b. Then second would be produced by a computer. It has to be produced by a computer. It has to be a computer output. And the third thing would be, that's why we talked about the definition of or that's why the definition of computer is very important, which is given under section 21I of the IT Act. And the third thing would be accompanied by a certificate fulfilling the conditions laid down in section 65b. I hope the information which you gathered today, or the information which I have shared with you today, would be useful to you in the future. And if you have any more queries or questions, you can ask the question in the comment box, and we will definitely try to answer that question. And thank you so much for patiently listening, and see you next time. Thank you.